Hi everybody, and welcome once again to Does It Make a Difference podcast. This time we are talking about business coaching, and I'm lucky enough to have with me Esther Partridge-Warner from RWC, and she is going to tell us if it really does make a difference or not. Esther, good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very good, and it's lovely to have you here. Thank you very much.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So the first question, as always, is business coaching. Does it really make a difference?
Absolutely, it does. I think that lots of people start businesses because they're passionate and enthusiastic about what they want to get into. Maybe they've had a corporate career and they're thinking, actually, do you know what, this isn't really for me anymore. And they're pivoting towards something else. And having somebody who can be your cheerleader, who can be a critical friend, who can hold you accountable, can be really important. Particularly, I think it can be quite isolating running your own business. You may be working from home. You may not be going out and going into an office as you did previously. And you just need somebody there, a bit of hand-holding and support. So absolutely, I believe, yes, business coaching makes an amazing difference.
So do you find there's a reluctance from people to sort of cross that barrier to actually they're concerned about their sort of privacy? And it's quite, I mean, when you start a business, it's a very intimate thing. It's your little baby. So surely there must be people that just struggle to let go a bit to talk it through with you.
I haven't found that to be an issue. I think that maybe different people have different business coaches for different stages of their particular business. So it may be that you would have a business coach that would help you during kind of startup, and then once your business is up and going, you may then want someone that will help you with your business growth or scalability. So it doesn't necessarily have to be one size fits all. It can be different coaches for different stages of your particular organisation.
So when somebody makes the decision they actually need it, or
Yes.
they feel they need it,
Yes.
what's the starting process?
So the starting process would be that on the RWC website we have a matchmaker quiz, because we have 7 different business coaches who all have different skills, and they have different backgrounds, and they have different specialisms. Now, the problem with business coaching is that it's an unregulated industry. So anybody can set themselves up and say, hi, I'm a business coach. But we only, at RWC, we only work with business coaches who are qualified business coaches and who have also run their own businesses. Because I think it's really important, if you're working with a business owner, if I can say, I've been there, I know what it's like, the whole kind of feast and famine, or the wearing loads of hats, and actually what you want to do is create the thing that you went into your business for in the first place. I think finding the right coach would be the first starting point. So that's why we have this matchmaker quiz that it's free, and you can take it on our website.
And what about sort of the results being quantified? If you have X amount of weeks or X amount of hours in association with a coach,
Yes.
Obviously, as you say, it's unregulated, so presumably there's no way of sort of justifying or explaining what you've achieved in that period of time.
Yes, so RWC was founded by Emma Fishlock 6 years ago, and Emma comes from a kind of tech IT project management background, and so it was very important to her that as business coaches we would have something that was really measurable. So she created something called the Business Strengths Analyzer, and it's like a quiz that you would take at the beginning, and it asks you lots of different questions, but 10 different areas about your business. So about finance and IT and tech and sales and marketing and customers and processes, all sorts of different things. And you come out with a score for each of those areas. But also it looks at you as a business owner and looks at your work-life balance, which of course is really very important. Looks at how successful you think your business is, and also it looks at your kind of your productivity as a business owner. So although it gives you scores about your business, it also will give you scores about you yourself. So we would do that as a baseline when people start coaching. And if people then either book a particular kind of number of hours or number of months, and then we would do it again at the end and show what progress people have made. So in a tangible way, rather than just thinking, oh, I feel better about my business, or I've got a better marketing strategy, or this is now working better in my business, or understand cash flow much more clearly. We've got something that will actually measure the progress that the business is making.
I see. So have you found in your experience then with the clients that you've had that there are people, as you say, are passionate about their particular subject, product, industry or whatever, but they've actually, through the sort of coaching framework, have found out that their strengths are not where they thought they were?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the first things we'd ask is, let's look at the business strength analyzer. Is there anything there that really surprises you? And often people will say, oh, yes, because I've scored myself this, but actually I thought that I was much further ahead with that, or I didn't think I was doing as well with that, but actually this looks like it showing it's different. So we use that as a bit of a conversation starter at the starting point. I do find that lots of people underscore themselves, and they kind of put themselves down a bit when they first start, because there's so many different things to think about when you're running your own business. So yeah, so many different hats to wear.
Well, talking of that, I was thinking, as you were saying earlier on, that when you first start a business, you're so passionate about your particular service or skill or product or whatever it is you're creating, that sometimes you get so focused on that, the actual running of the business runs away from you.
Yeah.
Really, enormous. If it's a great success, you're taking further and further away from your passion and actually closer to an area perhaps you're not that familiar with.
No, that's true. And so we have something separate from our business coaching, which is called the focus zone, and it's like a quarterly get together for business owners, and it's in a kind of group, and we sit around the table, and it's time for the business owner to work on their business rather than in their business. And so it gives them an opportunity to look back over the last quarter and see what went well, what didn't go so well, what could I do kind of differently next time, what ideas have I got that I want to take forward but I haven't got the bandwidth or resources to actually do it now, and then look forward to the following quarter and say, right, what are my focuses, what are my goals, what am I going to actually do? And they come away after a morning in our office with an implementable action plan. And again, that's really good because it brings business owners together so they're not feeling quite so isolated, and they realise that other people are in exactly the same boat, feeling exactly the same as they are.
I mean, isolation, I think, certainly at these current times, has become a much bigger problem than I think people realise. And it's so easy to get focused on your passion,
yes,
that actually your entire social circle and everything else can just fade away because you're focused completely on that.
And that's why I think work-life balance is really important. And so I'll often say to a business owner, tell me what you do in your spare time. And that can be really telling. And sometimes people say, what spare time? I'm focusing on my business like 24/7. But you actually can't do that. That way kind of burnout and madness lies, because you have to be able to set some boundaries and say, right, this is my time in my business when I do this, and this is when I'm going to focus on me. And you have to keep refilling that cup and refilling your energy level.
I think we both agree that the advantage and the disadvantage of the modern technology today is you're always on the end of that phone.
Yes.
and having been a small business owner for a long time, there's always this this fear that if I put the phone down, I'm going to miss something really important. And it could be something negative as much as something positive.
Yes.
How do you encourage people to switch off?
That's really interesting. I was at a networking event last night, and we were talking about people having two phones. So even though there are solopreneur or business founder or whatever term you want to use, they had a phone for work, which they turned off on a Friday, left on their desk and didn't look at all weekend. And I think that's a really positive thing to do, because otherwise, you are on 24/7. And I think the number of people now that message me on a Sunday over the weekend, you have to be able to ignore it until Monday morning and set those boundaries and say, that's great, but this is my time with my family, or I'm doing X, Y, Z. And make it an expectation that people know that you're not necessarily going to answer straight away. I know lots of people that have an out of office on their email all the time that says, I check my emails at 4 p.m. and I'll come back to you then. So it's getting away from the always being on, I have to reply instantaneously to everything. Because I think if you're doing some kind of focused, deep work in your business, those distractions that come in, those notifications that are going off all the time, you can't possibly concentrate.
I'm not interested. Do you find that there's a different approach to that switching off there's an age group? Because I'm just thinking, as you were talking there, people of our age,
yes,
technology and this connection has slowly crept upon us, and I wonder whether it's people like us that actually can't put the phone down and really struggle compared to the younger generation, whatever age that might be, but the younger generation that go, it's just a tool, I'm just switching off. I wonder if they have not more discipline, but less importance associated with it.
Yes, maybe. But I do think that it does affect lots of business owners, regardless of their age and stage. I think if you're running a business, you feel like, as we were saying earlier, it's a bit like having a baby. Your business becomes your child, and you can't actually switch off from that. You're always thinking about it, always thinking, am I doing the right thing? What's the next thing? How can I improve this? What can I do about that?
So from a business coaching point of view, do you have any examples of businesses that have really exceeded their own expectations and really excelled using the coaching service?
Oh, I have loads and loads, too many to actually mention. But there was a lady that I coached who came out of 19 years as a corporate management accountant. Right. And she decided she was going to set up business on her own. And I think it's a whole new world setting up a business in 2023, 2024. And there's so many things that you need to kind of think about that perhaps she hadn't really contemplated. So we were able to really focus on the things that were going to matter in her business. And one of which was marketing and kind of getting to grips with having a strategy around networking and social media. But in a way that she could manage, because I know that the social media platforms want us to be there all the time, but as a small business owner, we've only got a certain number of hours in the week. And so we have to say, okay, here's an hour this week that I can invest in LinkedIn. How can I make the maximum out of that hour, rather than thinking that there's this big kind of monster that we have to keep feeding stuff to get the maximum out of it. So when we did the business strengths analyzer with her at the end of 10 hours coaching, her scores on the business strength analyzer had increased by 66%, wow. which is massive. Also recently we've worked with a guy who's a car mechanic, and again he was really good at what he did, but didn't really have any plan for marketing and sales. And by the end of his 10 hours of coaching, his sales had increased by 200%, because he was just, again, it's a bit like where you put your energy, that's where the magic happens. And it's being aware that these things are important, and maybe you hadn't been thinking about those particular things before. So yes, I think it can kind of broaden out your thinking. We've worked with some really interesting businesses, from 3D printing companies to potters to artists. Some of them are B2B, some of them are B2C, and I don't think there's any one that hasn't had an increase in scores after their 10 hours or whatever of business coaching.
Fabulous. Well, Esther, thank you very much indeed for your time today. My final question is, of all the things I could have asked you about business coaching, what should I have asked you?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I think the question you could ask that probably everybody wants to know is, how much is this going to cost me? At the moment, we're April 2024, and we have funding in Worcestershire until the end of this year at least, for businesses that are under 3 years old. And have a Worcestershire postcode to get one-to-one business coaching that's funded by Worcestershire County Council. So actually you could dip your toe into business coaching absolutely free at the moment, but because we're really passionate about small businesses and small businesses growing in Worcestershire and beyond, of course, but particularly now, we have then a kind of step up pricing plan that makes it really affordable for you to carry on with your business coach afterwards. We don't want the cost to be something that will put somebody off.
Well, it sounds like you're dealing with all sorts of size solopreneurs and so on. So
yes,
it's obviously affordable.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, there you go, folks. There's Esther from RWC. Thank you very much indeed for your time, Esther, for joining me. And I hope that's been of interest to you out there. So there you go. Business coaching is something to be looking at if you want to enhance your business skills. Until next time, take care. Bye now.